Viewer discretion is advised.
The boys were playing soccer in the middle of the dirt road when one of them spotted a pink piñata in front of a nearby house that resembled something between a horse and a goat. As kids, they didn't think anything of it and thought they were lucky to find some candy or maybe even money inside of it. Yet, one of the boys, Will, felt like something was off about it and didn't approach it. His friend, Ken, on the other hand, ran over to it, but when he got within a few feet of it, he froze. He called out to Will, yelling that he couldn't move before he couldn't even talk a few seconds later. Frightened, Will took a step back, unwilling to even help his friend. The piñata started walking towards Ken, its cartoonish eyes analyzing him as it approached. Will knew he should have ran, but yet he was too afraid to move. That piñata then headbutted Ken in the stomach, over and over and over again, thrashing into him. Will could faintly hear Ken's bones cracking, yet his expression remained completely frozen in fear. Then, candy spurted out from Ken's body. Hundreds of pieces littered the ground as the demonic toy turned its eyes towards Will. He ran away and never looked back. No body was ever found. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you a SCP Foundation Euclid Class Object SCP-956. SCP-956, also known as Childbreaker, appears to be an extremely colorful piñata resembling a four-legged animal that is a cross between various species. However, after initial testing, 956 is anything but a papier-mâché toy meant to be broken. Foundation researchers determined that 956 was actually composed of glue, fur from an unknown creature, and most disturbingly, human tissue. Contrary to its appearance, 956 is completely immune to any type of blunt force trauma and crushing. Regardless of the amount of weight or force behind it, 956's physical integrity will not falter, and in some cases, it has managed to damage the vices used in attempts to crush it. 956 appears to only be in a docile state, waiting, until children under the age of 12 get within around 15 feet of it. Upon reaching the range of activation for 956, the child will become unable to move after around 7 to 28 seconds, becoming paralyzed in the last stance that they held. While this does not kill the victim, they cannot move or speak, but are able to see and feel, as suggested by incredibly fearful and rapid eye movements. After a few more seconds, 956 will then begin to inflict sudden and incredible blunt force trauma on its victim, directed at their torsos until they break in half or are opened up. Once they are, candy of an unknown kind will burst out from inside the victims, ranging from 23 to 1,323 pieces. These pieces of candy are thus designated as SCP-956-1. If the victim is somehow managed to be moved approximately 36 feet away from 956 successfully, they will be spared from being cracked open. Unfortunately, they will still be frozen in place, and no victims have ever been recorded as recovering from that state. These victims usually die rather shortly after this occurs, due to severe dehydration of the body and their organs. When Foundation researchers examined the corpses of such victims, they saw that due to the intense dehydration, the bodies became brittle, like that of a piñata. Furthermore, due to this research, the Foundation was able to determine where the human tissue came from in relation to 956. Pieces of human tissue were seen to be halfway converted into pieces of the unknown candy from inside the organs of its victims. The longer they stayed within the range of 956, the more conversion of tissue to candy took place. Anyone over the age of 12 who consumed 956-1 underwent seizures in mere minutes, and a small percentage suffered from heart attacks. Around only a third of those survived the ordeal. On the other hand, if a child under the age of 12 consumes the candy, they will stand up straight with their arms stretched outward, and the following will occur in the following sequence. First, they experience rapid hair loss. Then, papier-mâché will sprout from the skin. And finally, an extremely painful restructuring of their bone and muscles. After an agonizing 9 minutes, the transformation will be completed, and the victim will then have become another instance of 956. None have survived the transformation, nor has anyone have had the transformation prevented once 956-1 has been consumed by a child under 12. Outside of testing, 956 has begun showing capabilities of locomotion, as observed in a security feed which shown that 956 was wandering around its cell, tracing the perimeter of the room. It did this for about an hour before staring at a spot on the wall. Review of the footage has shown that it was facing this wall after returning to docile state during previous tests. Dr. N, the researcher responsible for 956, realized a horrifying implication. After reviewing the footage, he ordered his assistant to keep watching over the live feed of 956's containment. "Keep your eyes on that thing. If it moves, call me immediately." He ejected the recording tape and hurried towards the site director's office. "Hello and good morning, sir. Forgive the lack of formality, but please allow me to get right to the point with 956. I believe, and with good reason, that the Piñata should have its safe classification removed and have it be replaced with Euclid." The site director interrupted in the middle of his tea, said bewilderedly, "I would have preferred that you knock before entering next time, but for now, speak." "I think it's best that you see for yourself, sir." He handed the tape and the site director played it on his computer. "So it moves and stares at the wall. What about it?" Dr. N cleared his throat. "Sir, directly east of our current site is an elementary school. It was only about a few kilometers away. It sensed its victims and it's aiming for those kids." The site director pondered for a moment and then made a swift decision. All right, access granted to change SCP-956's classification from safe to Euclid effective immediately. Thank you, sir. As a preventative measure, 956 will be transferred to another site that is far enough from any school or playground. It was a precaution which relieved Dr. N greatly. Good call, sir. If my boy is still studying there and falls victim to that creepy thing, Dr. N said with a forced smile on his face. What happened to your boy, if you don't mind me asking? He went missing months ago. Was playing with his best friend when it happened. Both kids went missing on the same day. Would you like to see his picture? He wasn't really interested, but he thought it would provide Dr. N some comfort, so he said yes. He shuddered when he saw the picture. His name is Will, the one on the left. He would be turning 12 in another 2 months. My condolences, Doctor. A few weeks later, after 956 was transferred to another site, no other incident has happened similarly so far. Regardless of its state of inactivity, researchers have begun routinely reviewing footage to determine if it will move and for what reason. Dr. N requested to meet the site director in his office one day. He walked into the office and threw down a folder on his desk. The site director flipped through the folder mindlessly. What's all this? A child under the age of 12 consumes the candy, they will stand up straight with their arms stretched outward, and the following will occur in the following sequence. First, they experience rapid hair loss. Then, paper mache will sprout from the skin. And finally, an extremely painful restructuring of their bone and muscles. Yeah? What about it? How the hell do we know about this? What did we do that allowed us to find out the effect of those candies on a child? The site director took off his glasses, sighed, and rubbed at his temple. Answer me! And I thought you'd never find out. It was a few years ago when we heard about the Piñata and went out to recover it. We got to the scene, but it was already too late for the other kid. Poor boy was killed by that damn Piñata. We found your boy crying beside his friend. We took him back along with the SCP and the body of his friend. We detained Will for a few days for observation and would apply amnesty before sending him back. On the day of his release, he was sitting in the waiting room while procedures were underway. He was left alone there, and for some reason, some idiot who worked there had the funny idea of having a bowl full of those cursed candies on the desk. Any child wouldn't think twice to pluck one out without supervision, and he did. At this point, the doctor was already sobbing. When we're back to the room, he was already contorting on the floor. It was the last stage before he turned. There was nothing we could have done. I'm sorry. Dr. N broke down. He took out the picture of his son and mourned at the desk. The thought of Will turning into a predatory piñata was too much for him to bear. The doctor's son was gone, left only the memories of him in his mind and the report of an anomaly acquired from his tragic death. In today's world, children have become bored of cartoons, puppets, costumes, and even the once groundbreaking computer-generated graphics. They've seen it all. They know it's all fake. Children nowadays want more. But what is the next step in the entertainment industry? Think outside the box. We're not talking about puppets or any of those materials children know are fake. We humans inherently need to associate with living, breathing creatures, not puppets or moving pictures. We're talking about real characters. Our goal is to provide children with characters that are alive, characters that will teach them how to manage their emotions and solve life problems realistically. You can't get more real than that. Proclaimed proudly on the brochure, displaying a picture of a young child crying at the presence of a poorly constructed puppet. Another picture depicts the same child smiling and clapping his hands at a brightly colored bird mascot. However, reality is often disappointing. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation Euclid Class Object SCP-3325. SCP-3325, also known as Live Entertainment, is an abandoned facility associated with Real Characters Industries. The key areas of the facility include a recording studio located on the ground floor and multiple laboratories, research facilities, as well as containment areas below ground level. Within the containment areas house instances of SCP-3325-1, of which are biologically engineered organisms resembling puppets or costumed characters. Although initially designed with the intention of being featured in children's television programs, they turned out to be hostile and aggressive towards humans and other unrelated organisms. Instances of 3325-1 lack the ability to feel pain, which enables them to relentlessly pursue a target even if severely injured. However, these entities can be terminated with conventional firearms. They are carnivorous with no preferences for the source of meat. As the intelligence of 3325-1 varies, with the extent unknown, their behaviors are mostly unpredictable. Some instances in containment were observed to either stare at personnel for long periods, while some would randomly exhibit heightened aggression. Instances are able to vocalize certain distorted phrases at random intervals. 3325 first came to the attention of the Foundation when local authorities received a transmission from an unidentified individual requesting help. The facility was subsequently located and a team was sent to investigate. A team of 3 agents knocked on the door. "Looks like no one's home. We go in? On me?" It was dead silent. All personnel in the facility were discovered to be either killed or missing. Security room. Let's see if we can find anything here. Found something, boss. Looks like a videotape. Also looks like someone tried to scrub all the footage and data, but left one behind. It's corrupted though. Grab everything. We can restore the file back in base. This is strange. Most of the rooms are almost empty, and no fingerprints at all. Too clean. Some were killed, and some are missing from the staff records. Looks like these poor souls were killed to cover up tracks. Someone's hiding something. Shh! Hear that? It's coming from below. Something's down there. The agents froze for a moment. Faint sounds of shuffling and what sounded like distorted singing could be heard. Jude gestured the team to follow him. After flights of stairs, they found themselves in an underground laboratory. There, underdeveloped specimens of 3325-1 contained in tubular glass containers were found. What the hell are these things? What were they trying to do here? The singing was getting closer. They moved past the tubes and into the containment areas, where they discovered instances of 3325-1 being housed within pens and cages and bullet-resistant chambers. Look at this. God, some of them are feasting on animal carcasses. The source of the distorted song, a 16-foot-tall bipedal reptilian puppet-like organism wandering around aimlessly. The agents quickly took cover behind the crates. What do we do, boss? That's like a few of these things here. We can take them. Juno, get ready to throw a stun grenade. Following Jude's command, Juno pulled the pin and threw a stun grenade over the crates. The grenade went off, followed by a series of yelps and shrieks. The distorted singing was cut short by a pained scream. The team popped up behind cover with their rifles drawn. All of the instances were down. Think that's all of them. Wait, hold on. They could hear more movements behind the walls, but weren't sure where exactly the noises were coming from. Sounds like they're coming from the vents. We're low on ammunition. This is not a fight we can take. We'll come back later with a full squad. For now, tag the bodies and move out. They injected trackers into the entities and retreated through the same way they entered. Later, the Foundation sent a fully armed MTF squad back to the facility to capture the tagged entities, though some were eliminated during conflict. Here's the tape we recovered from the facility. Something's written on the box. We shouldn't have played God. They played the tape recording. It was a live taping of a children's show with an instance of 3325-1 present on set with the crew. All right, demo scene 1. Ready? Action. Hello, Mr. Beaky. What brings you... Whoa. What's it doing? Ow! The costumed entity moved clumsily towards the host and bit her arm. Its jaw held onto her arm with increasing pressure as she struggled and screamed for help. The man in a lab coat rushed forward and began beating the entity with a baton. Hey, let go! Let go! Security! Security! Hey, I told you to turn that off! The footage ended with the man forcefully pushing the camera away as a security team entered the room. Jesus, were they trying to create some sort of, I don't know, children mascot? Engineered to perfection solely for the purpose of children's entertainment? You've seen the flyers. The person behind the company is a madman. Guy has trouble separating entertainment from reality. How's the digital footage coming along? Tech team just finished restoring the file. Looks like a video with multiple footage stitched together. Here. The footage began with 2 researchers observing an instance of 3325-1 in containment. The instance appeared to be a disfigured version of the one shown in the live taping, with missing skin, exposed organs, and additional limbs. Subject 200 is extremely hostile. Someone's gonna be in big trouble if another subject attacks an actor. The director was seriously pissed, saying we can't have that happening again. We'll be ruined if children get traumatized after seeing their favorite characters going all haywire in front of them. Then the video cut abruptly, but remained at the same scene. But this time, the instance was chained up and struggling. The escaped subjects were caught, some killed. They tricked the guards watching them. They played dead so the guards would go in to retrieve their carcasses for incineration. That's when they struck. Now we have a guy dead and another half dead with severe injuries. These things are dangerous. They are not suitable for any children's show, not unless we can control them. The footage cut once more, this time, however, showing a man hiding in a narrow space. They've rounded up the researchers. I slipped away and called for help. This was no accident. This breach was planned. All subjects were released at once. I don't know how much time I have left. I should have seen it sooner. More and more researchers were disappearing. They knew too much, and I'm next. Listen, you can't let them do this. There were these people over at the facility, guys in suits. The subjects were ignoring them. This is a conspiracy. All those times they came over, I think they were discussing. Then footsteps were audible, and suddenly a door was forced open. Hey, that's the guy who sent us the call. No, please, don't! A loud gunshot went off, and the researcher dropped dead with his face falling in front of the camera. His eyes stared at the men blankly through the screen. That's all of them. Dispose of him along with the others. Let's get what we came here for and get out. The bastard called someone, so we don't have much time. Move. The video ended there. They could hear the distorted singing coming faintly from the containment cell. It didn't sound so unsettling anymore. To them, this time, it was a song filled with sadness and a cry for help. There once was a young boy who hoped to become a master of ventriloquism. He practiced every day with random items in order to perfect his craft. Unfortunately for him, his family didn't care much for his dream and pressured him to drop it. They were a family of bakers, and a baker is what he was meant to become. Still, he persisted in the pursuit of his dreams. But in response to the boy's open defiance against the wishes of his family, he was treated as an outcast. His parents and siblings would mock him when he tried to practice, or outright physically assault him. Perhaps it was due to their own feelings of mediocrity with their lives, no dreams to speak of. Therefore, they wanted to snuff out the bright dreams of a young boy who still had hope. Why did he keep practicing despite the pain and abuse? The boy had a goal: to purchase an actual puppet of his own so that he could perform. He believed if he could please a crowd, he could then please his family. The boy, however, made the fatal mistake of telling his family of this dream. His parents purchased the puppet of his desires and presented it to him as a gift. Excited about this, he tried to give a performance to his family. But instead, they only jeered at him, snickered, and hurled insults. With his feelings and pride injured, he fled away from home with the puppet. In his sorrowful state, the boy tripped over some rocks and fell off a cliff, the doll landing next to him. It was then that the puppet and the boy became one. And so, here I am today. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today we bring you SCP Foundation Euclid Class Object SCP-174. SCP-174, also known as Ventriloquist Dummy, is a wooden ventriloquist puppet. It wears 20th century clothing that is ragged and torn and holds no special properties. Facial expressions can be changed by using the internal controls of the puppet itself by a ventriloquist. When in plain view, and when no one is holding it, 174 is relatively harmless, and its anomalous abilities are mitigated to a certain degree. When 174 is in a person's peripheral vision, they can see 174's head turn to look at them. 174 has a look of sorrow, sadness, and longing. When looked at, this expression fades away and 174 resumes its inanimate state. When someone is in the presence of 174, they feel sympathetic towards the puppet and depressed. They of course have no idea why they feel this way, but it is believed to be a psychic ability of 174. When in the presence of 174 for too long, an individual will become obsessed and deeply attached to it. They will begin to treat the 174 as a child of their own and attack anyone who attempts to separate them. But if someone tells the affected person what they are doing, they will regain their sanity for a few minutes. The only way to remove such attachment and psychic hold is to use amnestic drugs. Even so, the affected person will feel a hole missing in their lives, as though they lost a deeply loved one. Those who are forcefully separated from 174 without being given amnestics will experience severe panic regarding their child. If they are not reunited with 174, they will undergo an extreme mental breakdown. If someone uses 174, they will be able to perfectly speak for 174 through ventriloquism. During this time, the user of 174 will have their voice become higher pitched. Thinking that 174 was controlling the user, microphones were set up to detect any anomalies. It was discovered that the voice used did in fact belong to the user. While using 174, the user will then relay numerous sad stories about the previous mistreatment of 174, including its supposed origins. However, all of the stories that it tells are heavily related to some sort of trauma or disturbing incident that the user of 174 has undergone in their life. Researchers believe that because of this, 174 possesses psychic abilities and is perhaps sapient. It is theorized that by using 174, a person will become increasingly attached to it. As to 174's motives, those are yet to be seen. Dr. Antonio was put in charge of 174 in order to find some answers. This is so silly. Tell me about yourself, puppet. Where are you from and who created you? Well then, Doctor, I'll have to tell you a story about a boy and his dream. 174 began to tell its tale to Dr. Antonio. Shortly after, Dr. Antonio's supervisor began to notice something was off about Antonio's demeanor. It appeared that the puppet's stories were making him emotional. That must have been really scary for you. I'm really glad you made it through. All of my previous owners tried to kill me, but I don't understand. Hey, come closer. I need to tell you a secret. He leaned into the puppet. His eyes began to widen as he listened. He's starting to look unwell. All right, that's enough. Pull him out of there. Security personnel rushed in at the orders of Antonio's supervisor. Dr. Antonio turned towards them with a frenzied look in his eyes. No, 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 you will not take him away from me. He's mine. 174 was torn away from him and he became a rambling mess, demanding to be with 174. This, of course, was denied, and 174 was placed back into its containment unit. Afterward, cameras were put into the storage unit to keep a more watchful eye on 174. "Sir, I found this in the glass case where the puppet is stored. Thought you might want to read it." "What's this? A letter?" It was a yellowing letter with an opened wax seal. It was written in an archaic hand. I wanted to create a toy that any child or any adult could bond with. I was alone growing up and friendless with uncaring parents. Wanting to ensure no one else experienced what I went through, I crafted this puppet. After the puppet was made, I went about performing a spell that required some unholy ingredients. It was a success, and the puppet became a huge hit with the family I gave it to. They were friends of some parents who had a grandchild, so they gave it to her as a birthday present. She loved it. She said it loved her and that it would never leave her. It was adorable at first, before she became increasingly possessive and violent towards anyone who dared approach the puppet. On one summer evening, I visited said family to see how they were coming along. The front door was ajar, and so I let myself in. I saw the girl, puppet in one hand, a bloodied knife in the other. She leaned into the puppet and made as if she was listening to its murmurs. Then she darted at me with frenzied eyes. God forgive me, but I had to knock her out with a broken table leg that lay by my side. I knew I shouldn't have created that puppet. Tampering with the law of nature and the forbidden arts has a way of coming back at you. I had to run away, but I couldn't allow this black magic to go on. I carried the girl out into a clearing and set the house on fire along with the puppet. Yet the puppet was not found among the rubble the next day. Even though the girl was rid of the puppet now, she was becoming increasingly mad and went on a murder rampage in a nearby town and was eventually killed by the authorities. The guilt was simply too much for me to bear. And so before I free myself of such guilt, I implore anyone who found my puppet, destroy it. Do not listen to its lies. Whatever tales it spins, they will never be true. Yours, Sir Reginald III. So the story it told Antonio, it made it up? But why? Fascinating and disturbing. No matter, lock it up and let no one near it, lest we lose another employee. Before we end this video, we are proud to present these incredibly sweet pieces of fan art. A big thank you to all of you. You can now send us your fan art, and we will be more than happy to show off your best art piece in our next video. Check out our description below on how to submit. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Which SCP do you want to see in the next video and why it is interesting? Let us know in the comment below. We will draw your story and share it with the world. Don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. Please share it to your friends if you like this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.